It is Wednesday, August the 27th. Good morning. Welcome to your Perfect Day Starter, the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikele.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. As always, we'll do the best we can to bring you up to speed and keep that promise with the happenings in the country. Welcome.
You're welcome. Our President Bola Tinubu is still in Brazil and is sending home comments, messages, and some wins as well. In fact, the president acknowledged the train that derailed yesterday. Don't worry, we'll give you all of those insights. But one of his trips is causing some sort of furore, particularly the trip to Japan. TICAD has been one very controversial meeting. First started with the booth, the empty booth, and now with the recent pronouncement by the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, JICA. So JICA had a meeting with Nigerian African delegations, I should say, and they sort of tagged some towns as African or with African nations like Ghana, Nigeria. For Nigeria, it was Kisarazu, but that is actually not the story. The story is that in the statements that the Nigerian government put out, so this was a picture that accompanied when some of those cities were designated as hometown for Nigerians. So when the Nigerian government put out a statement, the Nigerian government statement reads thus. It says the government of Japan named the city of Kisarazu as the hometown for Nigerians. So we're going to start with the Nigerian government statement. So yes, as a hometown for Nigerians willing to live and work in the country as part of its strategic efforts to deepen cultural diplomacy, promote economic growth, and enhance workforce productivity. Now, that statement goes on to say that under this new partnership announced on the sidelines of TICAD, the Japanese government will create a special visa category for highly skilled, innovative, and talented young Nigerians who want to move to Kisarazu to live and work. And that got a lot of people excited. I mean, naturally, a lot of people love to travel, right? So that statement was put out by the Nigerian government. It was signed by the Director of Information at the State House, Abiodun Olatunjoye, on August the 22nd. But fast forward to August the 25th, the Japanese government put out a statement, a counter statement on their own website, and that is what you saw earlier. So let's show you what the Japanese government said. It said facts regarding the JICA Africa hometown. And, it went on and on about the announcements, the launch of the Africa hometown. Now, the second paragraph says, under this program, JICA plans to promote exchanges between the 4 Japanese cities and 4 African countries through various activities. Then the third paragraph, which is coming up right now, says, on the other hand, there are no plans to take measures to promote the acceptance of immigrants or issue special visas for residents of African countries. And the series of reports and announcements concerning such measures are not true. So that's a direct response to the statement by the spokesperson in that sense. And that leaves a very bitter taste in the mouth. I must say that with diplomacy, a lot of things are very tricky. First, the language issues, but I imagine that we had good translators to help us understand what they were saying. But what happened was, after the announcement, there was a lot of hue and cry back home in Japan when a lot of Japanese heard about that. So they started saying, what is going on here? And that is how the government now had to retract. So it's a lot of things in the mix, but I don't particularly like how this is playing out, because it's like the Japanese government is saying that our own government is lying.
Interesting. On the issue of immigrants and all of that, it's a welcome development that when the rest of the world, or some part of the world, like America and all of that, are trying to sanitize that space and even trying to chase some people out that they feel that are aliens or illegal immigrants, the Japanese government is doing the best it can to say Africans can come, and do this or that business and all of that. But as you said, Kayode, it's important that we stop this kind of embarrassment and this mistake. I just remember that I think there was one that happened with the UAE incident that caused a lot of trouble. Sometimes we don't know whether the translation was a problem or our spokespersons our communications persons, whether in the ministry level or the presidential level, did not get clarity in terms of what was discussed. I got too excited. I remember it happened with UAE. I think it won't happen with NIDCOM. There's another, I don't want to, but I know something happened around that area that a retraction, is it a rebuttal?
Clarification.
A clarification needed to be done. And this one yet again. So this is directly diplomatically saying, look, we welcome you. Everything is, in place to make sure that these ties are built and consolidated as far as business and diplomacy is concerned, but you're stretching it a bit too far. So I can count from UAE, I think something that affects NIDCOM, I want to be sure so I'm not quoted wrongly, that there had to be a correction or a clarification announced to this. It's just too embarrassing. So the advice is, whoever are the spokespersons, whether at the ministry level or at the presidential level, listen clearly. And if you're not sure, ask questions, because I remember, I think you were the one that did that interview. When you ask, does it mean we can travel immediately? The spokesperson then say yes, and that caused a lot of trouble as far as the issue of trips. So the UAE and Nigeria is concerned. Yet this again, so it doesn't say well. Coordination within communications team should be properly put together. If you're not clear, especially on things like this that are a bit sensitive, there's nothing wrong in asking questions, asking for clarity, asking for proper interpretation, because this is not good. At least I can count 3 instances since this administration when this mess up has happened, and this is not acceptable, not at all.
So let's know what exactly is playing out. If it is the Japanese government that is being, what will I say now, that is trying to just throw us under the bus, let us know. But I know it's diplomacy, but it's important to always protect our image as a nation. But let's show you what more we have for you on the program today. Well, ASUU is back on the streets. Yes, that's the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In fact, SANU is also in the mix. But what is the issue this time with ASUU? Once you hear ASUU, it has to do with our public tertiary institutions, the universities, and that is most likely going to end up in a strike if things are not done right. So what is the issue? We have the leader of ASUU joining us on the program today.
From ASUU, we head to transportation, the train, the Kaduna Abuja train line yet again. This rail line, this corridor has been bedeviled by many things. If it's not an incident of an accident, it's an incident of insecurity, and now this major derailment. What happened? This was really scary to see. We will show you some more pictures when we get to the conversation. But the management will be talking to us later on the show.
And we turn our attention to our traditional institutions, very revered thrones, the Alaafin of Oyo, the Ooni of Ife. There's been issues around the chieftaincy title. Who is superior in that sense? Well, we'll give you the historical context to this conversation on the program today, so you better understand the interplay of these institutions.
And from there, we'll head to what played out at the Third Mainland Bridge, unfortunately, to the death of a few persons, where you can see some of the pictures coming in from the Third Mainland Bridge, where it was even an issue to be able to find the body of one of the individuals that is now passed, that has died. We'll bring you up to speed as well with this and what really happened. We'll look at the authorities and from all sides and see exactly what played out on the program. Okay, so that's our outlook for today. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more being expected. As a break, we'll bring you up to speed. But for now, we will be coming back in just a moment to bring you the dailies.
Your carrier joins us live from our Abuja studio. Is a member Nigerian Guild of Editors, a seasoned journalist. Good morning, Mr. Akera. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, Kayode, it's a pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's begin with this Nigeria, and it focuses on the incident not too far from you, Mr. Akera, and that's the derailment. That's how this Nigeria leads this morning. Abuja-Kaduna train services suspended indefinitely. 6 injured as passengers scramble for safety. Outrage over a halt of rail corridor. Fresh safety fears persist. It's a page 4 read. It's a lot in the mix, lots of concerns. You can see a lot of comments about, is this as a result of, vandalism? What exactly is playing out? I think the good part, or the good news, is that no life was lost. And that alone is cheery to note. But lots of questions to be answered. And it's great to see that the Safety Investigation Bureau is handling the investigation. So there's some sort of process now. Any incident that happens, they take over, do the investigation, and then give Nigerians the outcome. But this is close to you, Mr. Kerry. I'm sure you've had to use that, that rail line at some point.
Well, absolutely. This morning, I must say that my heart bleeds for this country. I listened to the managing director of the Nigeria Railway Corporation yesterday, Mr. Kayode Okpeifa, explaining the issues away. Now, the point is this: sometimes it's good to put these issues in perspective. I must say this morning that the Nigeria Railway Corporation is one of the most incompetent, very incompetent, service provider in this country. Now, I am from Delta State. I often travel through the Itakpe-Warri corridor with the railway, that is on railway, using the coaches. Now, when they first started, the coaches, if you take the business class, which they refer to as the VIP section, it was quite new, well arranged. Now, but even in the very first month that the train services flagged off, first it was the Abuja-Kaduna corridor that flagged off, followed by the Itakpe-Warri corridor. Now, I've also traveled from Abuja to Kaduna a number of times with the train. Then from Itakpe, normally it is not even from Abuja that you can board the train. You have to travel by road to Itakpe in Kogi State before you can then join the train. Now, you could see that within 3 months, there was so much dilapidation inside the coach sheet itself. Then the engines are all gone. You could see that these were just refurbished engines that were brought into the country at a huge cost, billions of naira. That is why I say that the NRC, the management, is very, very incompetent. First and foremost, this is also part of the plight of this country, where people are not brought to account for their bad behavior. Somebody imported these coaches to Nigeria, and I understand that these were even disused coaches that were refurbished. They just simply painted inside, dressed them up, and brought them in. As we speak, the Itakpe-Warri corridor has been shut down for 4 weeks now. And the last time I traveled, it broke down 3 times on the way. There was so much apprehension and fear. Now back to the Abuja-Kaduna corridor that happened, the unfortunate incident that happened, that the train derailed. I listened to the MD yesterday explaining it away that it is not only in Nigeria that trains derail. It's so unfortunate that he could even, rather than apologize, he's talking about, train is a normal occurrence for trains to derail. There were citing countries, maybe India and a few places. But he failed to mention Western civilization. How many times have trains derailed in the UK, in France, in Belgium, in the US? Why can't we emulate countries where services work? So this morning, my heart bleeds. Look at the number of injured. We just thank God that there were no deaths, no casualties. So I don't want to subscribe to this lazy behavior by those who are in charge of important services. Look at Hadi Sirika, for example, who also went to refurbish an aircraft in Ethiopia and brought it in as Nigeria Air. Up to now, he was charged to court at some point, and the matter has gone cold. So this is the problem we have in this country, where people, individuals, who have a responsibility to the Nigerian people, fail to discharge those responsibilities. The organizations that they run are riddled with corruption, with perfidy, and people are just, people cannot account for their stewardship. That's what I see with the NRC. I expect President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to actually set up, a panel of investigation to investigate the activities of the NRC. It makes so much money, but they offer very, very poor services. The toilets are always locked. They will just put it there, toilet bath, out of use. So once you board the train, a journey, if you are traveling from Itakpe to Warri, for example, it's a journey of about 6 hours, 6 to 7 hours. You can't use the toilet, you can't urinate, you are just stuck to your seat. So what kind of service is that? Then not to talk of the regular breakdown of the engines on the way. So the Kaduna incident is not a surprise. They are alluding it to sabotage. Maybe the rail tracks were sabotaged, or the NSIB is investigating. Wait to see the outcome of the investigation. But I'm not impressed this morning because I know I travel, I use the trains a lot. They offer very, very poor and bad services. Very, very poor and bad services. I expect to even resign his position this morning, because the truth is that in this country nobody resigns. When things happen, people just stay in their position and then offer very lousy excuses. I'm not impressed. That is the truth, and I just thank God that there are no casualties on the Abuja incident, Abuja-Kaduna incident.
Okay, well, you've raised a very important point. They'll be here to respond to some of the things you've raised as well. I've not used a particular trend, so you have a personal experience, and you've held your position. Those are maybe some of the first line of questions before we get into the derailment that they will need to respond to. But let's get to the Vanguard newspaper, which is leading with politics. The PDP had zoned its presidential tickets in 2027 to the south. So Vanguard is leading presidency northern blocks. Oppose PDP zoning tickets to the south. Some of the writers here: Northern youth kick against PDP's decision. We won't take it. Not central stakeholders tell PDP APC. Decision violates Nigeria's party's constitution. Hashim Group. So many writers. APC PDP may lose in the north to a strong northern candidate. That's credited to, I think, Nasser El-Rufai. PDP members demanding zoning ticket to north, selfish. That's according to Bode George. Obi keeps LP, PDP guessing. ADC tackles PDP APC on a zoning ticket 2 years to the poll. Says PDP trying to lure Jonathan Obi Amechi. So the writers have said a lot. What do you make of what is happening here, sir?
Well, these are interesting times for the country. First and foremost, a lot of people wrote the PDP off, that the PDP had become a dead horse, nothing was going to come out of it, and that it was better that the PDP naturally asphyxiate into non-existence. But somehow the PDP has been able to reinvent itself. It has demonstrated very clearly that it is a party to watch out for. That is as far as the PDP can go. But now, to the issue of the North and South politics that we have played since 1960 when Nigeria secured independence from Britain. I'm not enamored by, the conversation around where the president of the country should come from. I think that is why we have experienced very stunted growth and development across board, whether it is in services, it is even in health, in the health sector, in education, in public governance, in policy issues. Now, once you gravitate leadership from one zone to the other, yes, one is not unmindful or sensitive to the fragility of the country, as some people have argued that Nigeria is a fragile country and that there's a need, to orchestrate participatory democracy where everybody, every region, every state, almost every community should be carried along. I think that is where, for me, we are getting it wrong. It should not be a contest between the North and South. But since that is what we are getting used to in Nigeria, the PDP has read the mood. I listened to Abba Moro yesterday, the minority leader in the Senate, who explained what happened at the 102 NEC meeting of the PDP, where the decisions were taken. He said that in 2023, the PDP lost to the APC because he took a wrong decision by fielding a northern candidate when a northerner, the late President Muhammadu Buhari, just served out 8 years. And so for them to pick Atiku Abubakar, another northerner, and of course a Fulani like Buhari, that was a misstep. It was an error of judgment, and they paid dearly for it by losing that election. But at this time, they are reading the political temperature correctly and the expectation of Nigerians. That is why they are zoning it to the south. The PDP has zoned to the south. The APC has the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in power. He is from the APC from the southwest. We wait to see where the presidential candidate of the PDP will come from. Peter Obi is there. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is being taunted that is coming into the race. The ADC is locking in the corner, yet to decide where each presidential candidate will come from. All of these are part of the political maneuverings and the calculations ahead of 2027, just barely 2 years away. But for me, whilst the politicians, are groveling, are swiddling in their musical chairs, and their chessboard, where is the fate of the average Nigerian? As I speak to you this morning, the Vanguard has rightly captured it, and I'm sure a couple of the papers reported that Nigerians are suffering. There is multi-dimensional poverty in the country. Nigeria is rated as one of the poorest countries in the world amidst the humongous wealth, the natural resources that we have in the country, whether it's in oil and gas and rare earth minerals that is in abundance in the northern part of the country. So the politicians are not speaking to the issues as far as I'm concerned. I expect, or I look forward, and I'm sure most Nigerians who are listening to us this morning will be waiting to see a leader who will have the interests of the average Nigerian at heart. I'm here to see that because there's so much about, it's all about themselves, it's all about the elite, the ruling class. They are having so much, in fact, the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission even talking about reviewing upwards the allowances and salaries of politicians and all of that when Nigerians are suffering. Look at ASUU. ASUU is about going on strike. They are threatening, they're giving notices. So we need a leader who can address these issues, who will speak to the issues, how to address the biting poverty in the country. It is not enough for anybody to say that we are taking out fuel subsidy, we are going to float the naira. What is the policy strategy to address, to push back the effect of some of these policies? We are here to see that. It is also not enough to bandy figures that the economy is stabilizing and it is now, hooray, people can go and celebrate. Yes, I give it to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's able to reverse the negative international image that the country is having. For those who are condemning the president that he's been traveling a lot, I do not share, in that sentiment. Before the president came to power 2 years ago, before it was inaugurated, Nigeria has a very bad and negative international image to the extent that the green passport, it's not respected. Now we are beginning to see countries warming up to Nigeria again because of the goodwill that Mr. President is taking to other countries. It's in Brazil. We can see what the promises and all the agreements that have been signed between Nigeria and Brazil. President Lula da Silva of Brazil is, receiving President Bola Ahmed. This is the third time he's visiting Brazil, and we could see, but we wait to see actually some of the dividends. But I'm hopeful and optimistic that it's going to produce results. He left Japan not too long. So for me, his international travels are good, but he needs to come back home, also visit the states. He needs to also focus on the domestic issues, whilst he's focusing on the international issues. There must be a corresponding blend of these two, so that Nigerians can begin to witness the dividends. Otherwise, the elections in 2027 is going to be determined by performance and not really by people who bandy about their political parties. I think Nigerians are not interested in any political party at this time. The leadership recruitment process in this country is faulty. It is problematic. Almost all the political parties, I'm sure, no ordinary Nigerian can have a ticket of a political party where you have to pay 100 million, 50 million to get, to buy the forms, the expression of interest forms of the political parties. I have never seen any country in the world where all of this happen, where so much is paid to aspire to public office. I think that's also part of the problem.
Well, it's always a debate, really, when you speak to politicians. They'll tell you, did you know how much Donald Trump raised just to run for the president of the United States and all of that. But I mean, let's take a pause on politics, right? Because what good is politics if the policies or governance is not good enough? New Telegraph is next with the front page story that ASUU is warning, or ASUU warning protests ground varsities nationwide as members kick against FG's loan scheme on paid salaries, ask governments to sign pact August the 28th to avert what it describes as mother of all strikes. August the 20th, by the way, is tomorrow. And just to mention, just on top of the front page, you see that story, CBN setting deadline for mandatory geotagging of payment terminals. So that means that every single payment terminal is meant to be geotagged to a location. So every POS will be geotagged to a location. And I imagine that this will reduce fraud and using it to scam people and all of that. But that's just on the side. We have about a minute left, Mr. Carrier, on this ASUU matter. What do you make of it? Because it looks like this government has found a way to avoid strikes so far.
Well, I commend the CBN first and foremost for that initiative. It's not to curb, proceeds from kidnapping, terrorism, where people just withdraw money, and even this one chance people who carry POS machines around and then get people to, to inside their cars, and then they just withdraw their money. So it's a commendable step. Now for ASUU, I think this is sad that every time we are bedeviled by this problem where ASUU has to threaten strike, the blame goes to the government. The government has not kept to its part of the bargain. All the agreements from 2003, if you read all the reports and all the issues that ASUU is raising, apart from their welfare, they're also talking about even the conditions in the campuses, that they are quite appalling. So I think this is a wake-up call on the government. The Minister of Education is doing very well. I follow his activities. He's doing very well. He's coming up with a lot of innovation that is encouraging.
Right.
This is an issue that has to be addressed very quickly. ASUU must not go on strike. Our young people must not sit at home. We are already lagging behind in terms of technology and other issues that is education related. So ASUU going on strike, it's not going to speak well. It's going to demarket the country again. So for me, it is an issue that the government has to address very quickly.
Mr. Ayo Akaria, we have to thank you so much. You came out, as always, guns blazing this morning. I mean, we need that. He's a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Always a pleasure to have you on the program, Mr. Akaria.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we're starting off with the ASUU issue. The leader of the Academic Staff Union of Universities joins us next on the program. Please stay with us.
Let's get to the very heart of the matter. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, well, they've started their agitation, and this is a familiar territory. But in the last 2 years, the government has been able to manage the situation. Whether they are losing grip of the internal management so that this doesn't escalate is another kettle of fish, given the protests we've seen across board. That's why we've been joined by the man who speaks for the union, the president of ASUU, Professor Chris Piwana. He joins us virtually. Prof, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning.
You know, ASUU issues and the government and the agreement is almost like a recurrent decimal. I remember when it was a big thing, when strikes was literally every other period in the year, and we did an analytics, found out that since 1999 or so, maybe in the neighborhood of over 4 years, if you put the number of days ASUU went to strike in this Fourth Republic, about 4 years plus, is the number of years has been lost to industrial action. But as everybody has alluded to the fact that this has been managed fairly under this administration, what's now happened? What went wrong? Why did ASUU now say, okay, gloves off, we're no longer taking this anymore?
Well, thank you very much. Like you said, we've been at this for such a long time, and we have, in our view, always demonstrated patience, understanding, and have adopted dialogue to try to address these issues. Fast forward, since democracy started in 1999 to now, people are quick to say ASUU has been on strike on so number of times, schools have been closed, and you wonder what government itself thinks about these actions. When this government came into power 2.5 years or so ago, we had engaged them. This is the second Minister of Education since the advent of this administration. We engaged Professor Tahir Mamman over these issues. We've engaged this current minister, Dr. Tunja Lausa, over these issues. And it appears as if the machines, of government work extremely slow. And we've heard that over and over again. And we say to ourselves, why can't you make it more efficient? Why can't you make the government more responsive to these issues? But it is what it is that they say it's slow, but we think that we have demonstrated enough patience. We've kept the schools open. And let me just make this point. Government, yes, they have tried to keep the schools open. They point at the 50 billion naira EAA that has been paid to us, members of ASUU. 40 billion out of it was given to us across federal public institutions. They point at it as one of their achievements. They very recently, as at yesterday, the minister also informed that they have gotten release for 50 billion revitalization fund. But what Nigerians do not know, and what the government fails to say publicly, is that the 50 or 40 billion naira EAA that was given to us was at the expense of about 60 billion naira that we give up. Our EAA earned payments, work that we have done, amounted to about 103 billion naira, around that figure. We gave up half of it to ensure stability. Half of our earnings, 60 billion, we told government, yes, we agree. Over the years, there is no strike action that the issue of EAA was not on the table. We also want to ensure stability and exit this EAA palaver. So we are ready to part with half the amount of money that our members have earned to ensure stability. So this 40 billion naira they have given us, it is because we have given up 60 billion of our pay to ensure stability. So when they say, oh, they have given EAA, they have paid EAA, that point also has to be made. The issue of revitalization that just yesterday Minister informed, and we thank him for his efforts, that 50 billion has been released to revitalize public universities. Very good. But this is a country that was pushed to go into the needs assessment in 2011, 2013, and we discovered how bad, how dilapidated, how empty our laboratories were, and how students were standing for lectures, inadequate lecture halls. We made the case for it. And we agreed with government that to turn around the facilities in our universities, to upgrade our universities, we needed about 1.3 trillion naira. Goodluck Jonathan released about 200%. Goodluck Jonathan released about 220 billion naira. Since then, it has been drops of 10, 20 billion here, 30 billion there. But, well, they've made those releases. So Even the revitalization, it's as a result of the efforts of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. We just imagine that if we had not put pressure on government over these years to make sure these things are done, perhaps our universities today would have gone the way primary schools in this country, public primary schools have gone, or even secondary schools. And so when we decided to embark on this protest, it was again an effort by the Academic Staff Union of Universities through our branches, our congresses. We had a meeting about a week ago in Sokoto, and we took reports from all our branches across the country. Majority of our branches had opted for a strike action. That is what our members wanted.
Right.
But we discussed, as it is our culture, we discussed and arrived at the decision that rather than embark on a strike action, let us again give this government a chance. And so we decided that the way we can give the government a chance is to let them know that we have the capacity, we are ready, we are willing to embark on an action, but we intend to give them more time to resolve these issues. And so we decided to embark on a nationwide protest, federal and state universities. ASUU has just one charter. And so whatever happens to a state university happens to a federal university. Whatever is going on that is negatively impacting on the federal university also would affect the vice versa, federal or so. Every public university in Nigeria, had this protest, this rally yesterday. Right. And what are the issues? The issues are our 2009 agreement.
Right.
And let me make this point. This 2009 agreement that we keep talking about, it is not the agreement that was signed in 2009 that is before government. What is before government now are several reviews that we arrived at collectively through collective bargaining with the government representatives. So in 2017, we sat with government representatives and reviewed the 2009 agreement. That didn't yield much. Another committee was set up, headed by Professor Munzali Jibril, to review what was reviewed by Babalaki. We reached a draft agreement with Professor Munzali Jibril. Government did not implement it. Again, government set up a committee headed by late Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs. We looked at that document, arrived at an understanding, a draft agreement with government. The government still did not implement that agreement. They set up another committee now, headed by one of the most brilliant technocrats in this country, experienced, well-exposed Alhaji Ayale Ahmed, who had seen most of these agreements through. He was in the Ministry of Education in the 90s. So all the agreements, even before 2009, he had knowledge of it. We sat with him, we looked at the document again, and arrived at an understanding with the committee led by Alhaji Ayale Ahmed in December 2024, last year. The document, as we later got to find out, was finally handed over to the Minister of Education in February this year. This is August. We have not heard anything about that agreement. And so, when people talk about 2009 agreement, they need to note that that 2009 agreement had been reviewed by us and government has refused to act on it. And that's why
I need to come in now to put in this one, because it's great to see the background, or at least the backstory to all of this. But just to refresh the minds of Nigerians, let's walk through some of the demands that ASUU is making. Implementation of the 2009 agreement, which you say has been reviewed time and again. So I don't know if it's fair to call it 2009, or we just call it the updated 2009 agreement. There is a release of withheld salaries, payment of outstanding salary arrears, promotion arrears, revitalization of universities. You also reject government's proposed tertiary institutions staff loan scheme and adoption of UTAS over IPIS to preserve university autonomy. So those are some of the demands, or majority of them, as they came through to us. So I want to ask you a double-edged question, Prof. Because some of these issues, yes, I mean, they have lingered for too long. The thinking or the suggestion was that once, for example, the student loan scheme is introduced, the universities will be more liquid. There will be more funding for universities, such that issues around, salaries and all of that will be a thing of the past. So speak to us if that has moved the needle in any way. That's on the one hand. Secondly, how much of these issues predates this government? How much of them have they made commitments to resolve and they have not resolved?
Honestly, I think it would be fair to say that virtually all the issues preceded this government. And so when we complain, we are complaining about the leadership, the political class in this country, and those that we have elected into office who have refused to act according to the reasons why we thought they were there to lead us. Number one, let me take this issue of NELFON. From the time NELFON was introduced, we suggested to government that this NELFON, it would be better if you give students or give universities grants. So it is not a loan. If you have the money, why don't you make it grants? Grant because the rate of unemployment in this country is in the ceilings. It is right in the sky. We all know it. There is no household in Nigeria today that does not have at least 2 unemployed persons, either graduates or people who have OND or any form of certification. They have all not been able to get a place. And you are giving loans in an economy that is already depressed, and in an economy that is gasping for breath. And so we said, why don't you make it grants? They said no, they wanted loans. They have started the NELFON. Fine. We hope it succeeds. We hope it succeeds. But the recent developments regarding NELFON, I think it requires that government sit down and look at that program well. I don't know the staff strength of NELFON, but I guess it is not up to 100 because it's just a year. And they don't have offices either in the zones or in the states. So I don't think NELFON has up to 100 staff. Their personnel costs in the last 1 year is 14 billion naira. 14 billion naira. They said it themselves. And you know the challenges in administering the loan, especially the 20,000 naira that students are supposed to have. We don't want to go into that. It's their headache. They want it, and so they have it. But we can continue to look at it and advise them on how best they can ensure that our universities run. And if paying school fees or giving grants to students are ways that we think that could be done, that's okay. So on the issue of NELFON, our position is clear. We do not think loans are what our students need now because the economy does not support that decision. On the other issues that preceded this government and the ones that were created by this government, it is this government that promised us 25-35% salary increase as a result of the removal of subsidy. 1 year, 12 months arrears of that, they are still owing. They have not paid. one of the issues that this government inherited but knew about was this our 3.5 months withheld salaries. When we were on strike during the last administration, government withheld our salaries for 8 months. When President Tinubu came into power, he paid us 4 months, and we are very grateful for that. We have thanked him for giving the permission that 4 months be paid. But the 3.5 months is still our legitimate earnings. We came back from strike, we taught students, we examined them, we marked their scripts, we sat in Senate as academic staff, we approved their results. They have made progress in their lives based on that report, that result. They've gone for NYC, some of them are now employed. This is 2022. And why they would not pay us for the money, for us, the work we have done, is what we do not understand. But even while we do not understand it, we are not going to accept it.
So, Prof,
because it is our earning.
So, my apologies, Prof. You continue in that line of thought in addition to my question, if you will. So let's put figures to this. Generally, how much are we talking about here? Let's talk about the earnings that you just spoke about, the last one, about 3.5 months that you said, look, it's your legitimate pay. You went to strike, you came back, you did what you should do out of goodwill and good faith. Everybody resumed work, and now your salaries are being owed. If you populate it, maybe an average of how much are we talking about? And every other part of the negotiation or agreement that you're talking about that involves money, how much are we talking about broadly, so that we can put some figure to it and put it side by side with the reality on ground?
Well, let me put the figure to the 3.5 months salary. When we calculated what was outstanding, if the 3.5 months salary was paid to us, it was about 8.3 or 8.5 billion naira for all federal universities across the country. It's about 8.5 billion naira. On the issue of the 35 months salary arrears, I do not have that figure, but I believe that Budget Office or the Office of the Accountant General should know what that 35% translates to. But we do not have the figure for the 35%. I'm sorry about that. But on the 3.5 month salaries, our money amounts to about 8.3 billion naira.
Well, 8.3 billion is small money to the federal government, so one wonders. That's why I needed you to put it so that we understand whether we're talking trillions or millions here. But 8.5.
And let me even add here that even for the 35%, from the way government was paying the 35%, I don't think they paid that money to civil servants, at in one fell swoop. And so there are many ways I believe they can begin to defray this 35% to show commitment that they are willing to do this thing. But to just keep quiet and tell us that they will do it, is what led to this protest yesterday. And if they continue to say they will do it, we will have something more than a protest.
All right, Prof, as we begin to wind down, the reason I needed you to put, I wish you had all the figures. The reason I needed you to put the figures out, so that at least the president will hear in case he's not aware. And I think if the president hears that 8.5 billion is what will make ASUU go on strike, it's just one action and it's done. So I don't think it's so much of a big money by every stretch of imagination. But in going forward, now all eyes are on ASUU. What happens next? What's the grace period? What's the next line of action?
Well, if nothing happens, we'll meet. I cannot say what would happen exactly. We can assume based on our past engagements with government what could happen, but we'll have to wait for our branches. They would decide what would happen next, and once they decide what would happen next, we will meet and take action on what our branches, our congresses have decided. In the last 2.5 years, our congresses have decided that we should embark on a strike action. And the union leadership has held back, thinking that this government, once it has settled, it will address these issues. And we have now reached a point where our members no longer want to give government more chances. They think that we've given them enough chances, enough time to address these issues. And so as soon as our members across branches decide on what action they want us to take, one thing I can assure our members is that once they decide and they tell us what they want, the leadership will not blink. We will carry out exactly what our branches say we'll do. So let's wait and see. But for now, the union had decided on protest. We have embarked on the protest. Once our members decide on what next to do, Nigerians will hear from us.
All right, Prof. Just 10 seconds before we go. So as far as we're concerned now, we know that universities are funded by government. So is the proposal still on the table about university autonomy? In just 10 seconds.
Well, university autonomy is not just financial autonomy. That is where the government usually lays emphasis. Once they hear autonomy, they say, oh, we're paying, giving money, we should do everything. University autonomy includes governance structures in our universities. Okay. Universities work through committees, and these committees need to be protected or grounded in the laws, statutes of our universities. Okay. So autonomy is not just financial autonomy. There are a lot of administrative things that relate to autonomy and academic freedom. And we think that this will not cost government anything at all. If they are serious, they will sign this agreement. Because indeed, the autonomy has been in practice. We just want it back into the agreement so that it will be sustained in the years to come. Because we inherited the autonomy from our leaders in the past. In fact, it's a universal thing.
My apologies. We're totally out of time. We're hoping that it's going to get there. But I think one of the outcome of this conversation is to the effect that that money you mentioned is not anything serious to the federal government. So now that the president has heard it, I'm sure we should be expecting action. I must thank you. Professor Chris Piuna is the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, from here, we're shifting gears to what played out on the Abuja-Kaduna train or rail line, if you will. That's what you're seeing on your screen. What exactly happened? This corridor has been bedeviled by one thing or the other, and this looks pretty serious. The persons in charge will be here to respond to the questions. Join us in just a moment.
Mr. Kayode Okpaifa joins us. He's the MD of the Nigeria Railway Corporation. He's been MD for 7 months now, 6-7 months, and he's had to grapple with a lot of issues. You're welcome to the program, Comrade Okpaifa.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, this is really not the kind of news you want to get as MD of the NRC. I mean, you have a lot on your table already, but we're here right now. And earlier on, we had on our program one of the newspaper guests who had a lot to say about the Nigeria Railway Corporation, from the service provided in the trains to the state of the coaches and all of that. But let's speak to this incident. Thankfully, there were no fatalities. I think 6 people were wounded, and I imagine they're receiving treatment. And I know that investigation is on to determine what the real cause is. But you were there up until night yesterday. Tell us what you got from that incident and what kind of information you're getting as it unfolds.
Yeah, good morning, Kayode and Co. Let me say, beyond apologizing to Nigeria, I want to say as the managing director
and Chief Executive, I take full responsibility. And in the case of safety, there is no indifference. Once it happens, the Chief Executive must take responsibility. In this case, I am taking responsibility. And I want to assure Nigerians that incidents like this is not expected, is not prayed for, should not be happening, but where it does is to bring out the best in us. And I assure Nigerians that just like we are doing currently on the Warri Itape, which he also mentioned, we shut down the Warri Itape 3 weeks ago. I ordered the shutdown for safety reasons. And if you see the level of work the men have been doing on the track, cutting it off and replacing, it is to make sure things like this don't happen. However, on this particular incident, when you have incident like this is a very serious one. It's not just a derailment. This is a derailment with capsizing. So it's double. We have some of the coaches derail, and some of them actually capsized. The locomotive capsized. Derailment is when one of the wheels or the rest just pull up. We can easily pull that back using the crane, and the train will continue moving. But this one happens to be like this one is actually a much complex thing. What we also observe is that it happened at near a point. A point is where trains can change their direction of movement, especially when you have this kind of system where you have only one track, and you approach a train station and another train is coming. You want to change to either where you drop people, pick people, or allow for the other train to move. And it's a point that normally is must be closely watched to prevent incidents like this. So that area is a point of concern for investigation. Now, when this thing happened, immediately the rest is history, is a story, because we deployed the rescue, emergency and rescue protocol, and all the necessary agencies were there. The security was forced to be deployed, and immediately after that was the evacuation. And the rescue train was dispatched from Abuja to the border of Abuja and Kaduna, which is Asham. Luckily for us too, we thank God, the area is also an occupied neighborhood. On the top of those things you are seeing on the screen, neighbor, in fact, also there is a police station close by, and they also dispatched there. The governor of Kaduna State also sent in his own team, the Ministry of Health Federal, Abuja Mandate Secretariat, and the Abuja Transport and Health Services Secretariat also deployed their personnel. So also NEMA was there. The GOC, Mechanized Division, was also there, Kaduna, and that to show how seriously it was addressed. Coming to the fatality and the casualties, there was no fatality. We thank God. That was a near miss. Because of this kind of accident or incident, you see some level of fatality. But we thank God for this. And for those that were injured, 4 look serious. 4 are serious. And another 2 also were discharged immediately. And we will follow up on those that might still be in the hospital. I don't know at this moment. We'll follow up them. So also we'll follow up with the remaining 618 people on the train because of post-traumatic experience. We have their phone contacts, and we'll do that. On the investigation, in recent time, the NSIB was created, and they had to assume responsibility for the national investigation of all train, water transport, and air transport accidents. And they were contacted immediately, and they dispatched people there. They started our own investigating team. Were also they have just read their report now. The preliminary report is for our consumption at this moment. The Ministry of Transportation, the Honorable Minister, also informed he will be putting up an investigating team. So I want to assure Nigeria nothing will be slept under the carpet. You know why? These kind of situations gives us the best opportunity to do the right thing. My responsibility at NRC is to take it to global standard, and that is what I'm preoccupied with. There are so many things going on the ground. It's just unfortunate this happened, we will investigate whatever caused it. Is it human? Is it track? Is it electromechanical? Is it weather? It could be any other thing we will investigate. And we thank God it's going to be an independent investigation by the National Safety Investigation Bureau. So unlike in the past, that NRC have to do this investigation, this time around we have an organization on ground by law to conduct the full technical investigation while we provide them with some the vital information.
So, Mr. President, is there, from your preliminary findings or that has been reported to you so far, is there any suspicion around sabotage?
It would be premature for me to speak on that because that would be undermining the authority that is meant to do the investigation. But I want to assure Nigerians that our tracks are safe from vandals and terrorists. This particular track is being monitored by the military. You can see immediately it happened within 5-10 minutes. The helicopter was there, hovering at the Nigerian Air Force. The Nigerian Army are all along this corridor. And I think for the records, we've not had any issue of banditry, terrorism attack along that corridor. But you can't wish anything away. The investigation will tell us what happened. And I wouldn't want to comment because I'm a party to the investigation. I also will have to go there and give my own side of the story. So I know very, very soon, even though the MD said within 30 days they have to do a preliminary report. That's what their protocol and procedures demands. I think as things goes on, the NSIB will speak to Nigerians on preliminary findings. We will provide them all information that we have, and it is there. We have to follow the protocol, at least for the first time, if not only the one that happened in Lagos. I believe the same thing was done. But this time around, with my presence there and the MD, we vowed this 3 weeks ago at the stakeholder forum. No incident, no accident on a transport sector modes will go uninvestigated. The era of brake failure, this failure is gone. We have to get to the bottom of the matter. While not apportioning blames, we have to apportion responsibility. And where we find any lapse, we have to fix it. Where we think there is need to take tough measures, we will take tough measures. I want to assure Nigerians.
Okay, just to re-emphasize, I know you had mentioned it in passing, but just to re-emphasize, how bad is the state of the derailment? We're seeing it on TV, we're seeing it on screen, but you know, you've been on ground, so you have a better view.
Yeah, this one is a serious one. You see, the track is a single lane track, but it has a siding because it's just an approach. You will see the Asham station just ahead of you. Is about 100 to 200 meters to the Asham station. So there is always a side track for shunting. That is that you can see from the film now how the thing crosses. So on the main track, the track and the sleepers. The sleepers are those concrete stuff. You see they were heavily damaged. Some of the lines went right, some went left. Some of the coaches went right. 1 or 2 coaches went left. And the locomotive went on its side, and this is a serious one. But we during the last blast, I think that was 2020 or so, we had similar damage to the track like this. This is not the first time we are seeing damages to the track, and but this is a serious one. And I can assure Nigerians that the capacity to fix this within the shortest possible time exists, both in our technical partner and the Nigerian Railway Commission Corps of Engineers. And during the blast, the Nigerian Railway engineers fixed the track back to what it is. However, we also need to know that this track was constructed 10 years ago. Just before this incident, we were just at about doing the complete safety audit of the track. Unfortunately, this happened before that safety audit. So that safety audit will also have given point if we have any area of interest. But that notwithstanding, we are waiting the outcome to know what factors are responsible. Is it electromechanical? Is it human? Is it track? Is it weather? Is it something else? And all that. So there are so many things that could be wrong. But when things like this happen, is to bring out the best in you. And I can assure Nigerians, this will not only bring out the best in us, it will bring out from us a global standard.
We certainly hope so. We have to also speak to, some of the figures that we've seen. I think within the space of a year or two, about 50,000 clips were said to have been taken from that corridor alone. And not to talk of the Lagos-Ibadan or the Warri-Takpe corridor. Clips alone, 50,000 from each of them in between 2022 and 2023, according to what we hear. But we also understand that there are billions of naira budgeted for protecting that corridor. So when you speak to protection, just how protected is this corridor, and who is protecting the corridor against either vandals or likely terrorists, people who want to attack that rail line? What sort of protection do you mean? I want us to speak to that, then we'll speak to the services and what to expect from the NRC.
In terms of protection, you have a military protection team headed by a senior military officer. You have the Nigerian Army, you have the Nigerian Air Force, you have the Civil Defense, you have the Nigerian Police. Then you have the people we call Ganga. And then you have vigilantes, community security people, and these community security people were among those who immediately moved to the incident site as it happened. Then all these work together, and whenever we have or suspect any issue, the Air Force quickly deploys area surveillance. Whenever we have a ground suspicion, the Army are permanently there. You can't see them, they're there. Within minutes, they're out. And so I want to say that among our corridors, this corridor, since that incident happened, we have learned our lessons, and it's been protected. The vigilante, if I tell you the number of security services on that route, you wonder if it's a security issue. They're there all over. They're there all over. I sign the bills on a monthly basis. I know what it takes. But that is what government has to do, and that is what government is doing to make sure that line is protected. That line is properly secured. Don't let me go into more security. You can see immediately it happened. The aircraft was moving around it. Another one was done just 3 weeks ago. These are things that goes on that corridor. Now, on the issue of vandalism, now it is not only here. South Africa, Transport for London, we travel around, we exchange ideas. Recently, I was in South Africa, even where they have electric. People still go and cut the cables, still cut signal cables. Yeah, we have vandals removing our materials, more on the narrow gauges, especially on the Eastern Corridor and the North Central Corridor. That is the corridor that links the Eastern Line and the Western Line. On the Western Line, there are many of such too, especially on the northern side. The Southwest Nigeria looks much more better, but all these are because the train is not running. If the train runs very well, this will reduce. It will reduce. It will completely stop. Yeah, maybe technology, maybe human beings, but all over the world, I tell you, is a combination of both technology and human beings. They call them Ganga. For every meters on the track, we have people from the community who patrol and move. In this particular case, the track was certified okay in the morning. 2 trains had passed that particular point without issue. And in fact, it was the one that passed last was the one that was used for the rescue. So, but however, when you get to a point, they call it a point where you have sharp edges where trains turn around, it is prone to incidents, and you need to put a special care. But we'll continue to do everything we need to do. And let me use this opportunity to say that our tracks are being highly vandalized, highly abused by people who have taken it as a job. They call it scrap. It is not scrap. They are national assets. And if this case happens to be one of such, you can say the consequence. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that, especially on the Warri-Takpe, we get clips being removed on a regular basis. And when they happen, before the train runs the next day, we replace these clips. And a lot of them are on the social media. You will notice that whenever they report it happens, we come back and say fixed. Right. So our responsibility is that whenever they vandalize our track, we get it fixed. That's number one. Also, we have to protect it, and we use locals to do that, and they are doing their best. Yeah, there are also technology on the track. We don't need to start telling people what has been put on it, but my responsibility coming to this place is to put it in the best of shape to meet best practices and global standards. And that is what I have been promising Nigerians, and I'm promising everybody that uses this train that very soon we will have less of these issues, if not eradicating them.
Well, Mr. You're not new.
I've not had any sleep.
Right. I mean, you're not new to the transport sector. You've done this for decades in Lagos, at the federal level, and now at the NRC. And yes, it's good to hear that you've taken responsibility. You apologize. Although Mr. Akeria said you should resign. But let's speak to some of the other points that he made. One, he talked about now the service, the state of the coaches. He talked about the bathrooms, and a lot of people have experienced this as well. Bathrooms are just closed, a lot of them dirty. I mean, for that kind of service, you expect some sort of premium service, even for the first class, the in quote first class. That's one. He talked about the dilapidation of coaches, and a lot of people agree. I've seen it as well. In fact, he referenced that some of those trains may have been disused. Then they were brought here, they were refurbished, and that's what we're using as a country. So I want you to speak to that. We need to have the very best service on our trains, at least, so that it will be a standard for Africa and even globally. So what is wrong? Why are we dropping the ball, Mr. Okwefa?
Yeah, thank you very much. I am not sure Nigerian government will buy refurbished train or refurbished engine or coaches. I believe strongly that these coaches were bought new. But, you know, we are all free to our opinion. It is not also impossible that some lines are using older coaches or engines than the other. We have two types. We have the DMU, depot multiple units, which looks more beautiful. Then you have the locomotive driving the coaches, which is what we have on the Orita. And people have attributed that they want the best. They want the one in Kaduna. Kaduna has the best of coaches in terms of age, and that's where you have these incidents. But I am also aware that there are issues on our trains. Toilets not working, one problem or the other. And in the last 7 months, I have used this train on a regular basis, and I've fixed, like when someone wrote about toilets not working on Abuja-Kaduna, immediately I said that can't be true, because I know, yes, some are not working because they are using pneumatic and the spare power are not available. Immediately we turn them to manual. And on this particular line, Abuja-Kaduna, out of a complete movement, will have about 20 to 22 toilets. There is nothing less than 16 working. Now, the cleaners are Nigerians, and I've had to do away with 3 companies, the 3 cleaning companies, with all sort of pressure not to do it. We have had to replace them since I came, and we're still going to do away with so many of them. We can't give Nigerians anything less than what they are paid for or what they deserve. So I agree that it's a work in progress, but it has improved tremendously. In fact, record shows that, comments shows that it has improved from what it was back then. In the next few days, unfortunately this happened, you will have started seeing some of the physical things we intend to put on the train. We are copying what is going on in the aviation sector. That's what we want to mimic. We are not looking at what goes on just only in best practice. We're also looking what goes on here in Nigeria. We want a situation where staff will be well identified. On the issue of the VIP coaches, yes, there are a lot of intrusions into them by our staff, by people selling. It is just the way we have managed it, and that has stopped. I can tell you that stopped since I came. We have made some new protocols. We have written new standard operating procedures. You see, where there are no laws or something, things could happen. But since I came, I've started getting everybody to understand there must be standard operating procedures. There must be minimum standard. There must be reporting standard. Right. And that's one of the things we gained from this experience, that the incidents were reported promptly. The protocol for evacuation and recovery was ignited very promptly. So whatever are the lapses, they are work in the progress. I don't expect it will have lasted this month, but don't forget, it also comes with funding. If you have people say we made so much money, yes, we make a lot of money from tickets, which is electronic, but is this amount of money adequate to give us the best? All over the world, passenger rail is being supported by government, and that is what we're doing also. So the money we make from ticketing and the rest does not really cover, but the government had always been providing the support.
All right, Mr. Okwefa, we have to anchor at this point, but I must squeeze this in, 10 seconds, right? There's concerns around ticket racketeering. I know you're planning to incorporate the Lagos, perhaps the Lamata payment service into what you have now at the NRC. So we just want you to deal with the racketeering, not necessarily speak to it. But when is this route going to reopen? Because we know it's been closed. You've announced
which route?
The Abuja-Kaduna route. We understand that some part of it has been closed. When will it be reopened for use?
Ticket racketeering on Abuja-Kaduna.
No, that's not the question. Pardon me. I'm saying we want you to deal with that, not speak to it on the program.
Okay, I will deal with it.
Yes.
And just to tell you that it has gone down.
Okay, the question is about reopening the Abuja-Kaduna route, because there were reports that it's been closed for now. When will it be reopened for passengers? That particular route.
The first thing that will happen is the NSIB will determine when the site is open for reconstruction.
All right.
So from the time they tell us that it's ready for reconstruction, I don't see us spending more than 30 days. So it depends on when they declare the site open for reconstruction. That is to fix. But when we fix this time around, we may not open immediately. We may have to do a complete safety audit because it's part of a global standard. When you have this kind of situation, regardless of what the outcome is, you still conduct a complete safety audit.
Mr.
I have a tampering machine to do that, and we'll do that.
We have to thank you so much. Quite a lot of work you have on your hands, and we wish you the very best. We're here to support you as much as we can. We've been speaking with the MD CEO of the NRC, Mr. Kayode Okwefa, on the program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll turn our attention to our traditional institutions, the Alaafin of Oyo, the Ooni of Ife, at loggerheads over a chieftaincy title. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. A few days ago, we saw what played out between the Alaafin and the Ooni about a chieftaincy title being conferred on a businessman. ASUU can give that broad title across Yoruba land, and it's been generating controversy. The spokespersons have been at each other. This looks like an old one, new entrant situation, or an old one with new persons at the vanguard. So we brought in the man who we know can speak to this issue extensively. He's a lawyer, a former special advisor to the former governor of Ondo State. This Dr. Doyin Adebowale joins us right here in our Lagos series. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Where do we start from? So, what do you think is playing out here? Two questions. What do you think is playing out here? And why do we always have this issue between the Alaafin and the Ooni?
Well, talking about what is playing out, I want to believe that the new person, the Alaafin of Oyo, perhaps he must have been misled into believing that that there is an extant issue to be resolved between that office and that of Ooni, because I really don't see any justification for this distraction. It is a distraction as far as I'm concerned. And now when you want to talk about, your second question is
about why this war.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that is because, with respect to most of our traditional rulers now, I think there is this misapprehension of roles. They call themselves the Ile-Ife. I think is a misnomer. It is, it is, because the letter of appointment given to you by the governor on your appointment does not tell you that you can act outside your local government. So forget about the fact that we respect them. Then when you talk about historical antecedents, we know where we are from. Then we know what used to obtain as against what we now have. But can you really talk about an empire in 2025? Can you talk about an empire? There was a time when the late Ooni, Shijuade Olubushe II, and the late Alaafin were in the same state, Oyo State, before the creation of Osun State. And there was this problem about how who should be the chairman of the traditional council and so on and so forth. Until the two states, until Osun State was created out of the old Oyo State, that problem persisted. Then we want to ask ourselves, paramount ruler over who? Over who? We as Yoruba can only accept, okay, we read in history that so person occupying a particular thing, is the paramount ruler. But if you want to go by what even the British did, shortly after the amalgamation of this country in 1914, the way they downgraded the traditional thrones into stools. When you accept a stool, you are saying that you are inferior, you are a chief. That's why you have chieftaincy law. You have chieftaincy law. And some of them even accepted to be knighted by the then queen. They knelt down to be knighted by the queen. So I don't know where they have this this idea of supremacy from.
But Doctor,
they are not superior.
It's a very interesting angle you bring in. So just to be clear, you're saying that with the governance structure we have now, the Alaafin of Oyo, the Ooni of Ife, their powers do not go beyond their local governments.
Precisely. If you want to go by their letter of, because the Ooni of Ife is in Osun State, and in Osun State they have their traditional council. Alaafin of Oyo is in Oyo State, and they have their traditional council in Oyo State. And by the Oyo State chieftaincy law, only 4 prominent obas are recognized as imperial majesties, and that is the way to massage their ego. You have the Alaafin, you have the Shonwo Ogbomoso, you have the Olubadan, then you the 4th one. I've forgotten the name of the 4th one now. There are 4 of them. Yeah. Then in Osun State, of course, the Ooni, is the permanent chairman of the traditional council, but you also have other, first-class obas. You have Ataoja, Oshogbo, you have Oluwo, you have them like that. So you cannot. The Alaafin's influence does not,
stretch
beyond Atiba local government,
and vice versa.
Yes, and
so the bone of contention is Yoruba land.
Yes.
Right? And people have said, one is a spiritual head, one is the political head. Yes. One holds the power in that sense. So that's a bone of contention. And I don't think this conversation would even resolve it. I think this is one that will be resolved. I don't know when. Yeah. But in terms of the origin of the Yoruba people, because this is also at play here.
Yes.
Where is the origin? Is it Ile-Ife or is it Oyo? So who is meant to lay claims to any title that has to do with Yoruba land?
It's Ile-Ife. There's not, you go and say Yoruba land. I think we need to do some clarification here. When you talk about Yoruba land, that is a construct, a taxonomy that we all must agree to accept. And of course, we have come to accept because of the combination of several factors. Starting with the formation of Egbe Modudua, that was when we started to talk about accepting that all of us are now Yorubas. But before then, we were not. Until amalgamation, most of towns and villages never cooperated with one another. They never did. And if you want to go back into history, you must have read about the Kiriji War. The Kiriji War. Yoruba's towns, we almost killed one another. We were dealing with ourselves. We didn't like ourselves. It's a lie. Until the 1888 treaty was signed, saying that, okay, there will be no war again. So when you talk about Yoruba, the classical Yoruba people are your people. They are not Ekiti, they are not Ondo, they are not Ijebu, they are not Egba, they are not Owo, they are not Akoko. So, and when you talk about Alaafin and his empire, you must be able to distinguish between Oyole that fell to the Fulani in 1835 and the Oyo Atiba that we now have, where the Alaafin himself is a refugee. Yes.
That's a strong statement.
It is. Historically, we are talking history now.
Okay.
We are talking history now. When Oyole fell in 1835 and Alaafin Olu was killed, he was beheaded, they ran southwards. They ran.
Before they settled in Oyo Atiba.
And those who had allowed them at Agoja, the Ogbomoso people, you know, provided the succor, needed succor for them. Don't forget the fact that the Shonwu himself, that title belonged to the High Chief of Alaafin, but the Shonwu was a warrior, but he headed a place. The Olubadan was a warrior, was the head of the Yoruba army. The Olubadan too assisted what's called Yoruba land. And you will recall that in 1840, when after the Fulani attacked, you know, Oyo Ile successfully and destroyed the place completely, in 1840, they now wanted to leave Ilorin, they wanted to come down to overrun the rest of Yoruba land. They were stopped at Oshogbo. It was Arela Tosa who sent Balogun Odenilo to go and confront them. And they were stopped at Oshogbo during the Jalumi War. How did they win? They were able to win because, you see, the Fulani came on cavalry. But the Yoruba, you know, they waited for them for the night to fall, and, you know, horses don't move at night. So that was why they pounced and they killed all of them. They killed Shola Beru and one other person who were Yoruba people who led the Fulani into our land. So after 1840, the Ibadan imperialism now started. No, Ibadan now had viceroys, Ajele, in those places where they had gone to rescue. They became oppressive, they were extorting money, extorting tributes and all of it, until the Ekiti Parapor war started and the Ekiti people revolted. Ogedengbe, Agbogungboro, now fought. Yes, and David Ibadan.
We're chuckling because there's an Ogedengbe behind the scenes. That's why we're chuckling.
So, you see, the Ibadan overlords were now routed. And the war continued until the British came and it was disturbing the business of the British. That was why they were forced to sign the treaty at Imesile in 1888. That was when we were coming together. And so if you called an Ekiti person, a Yoruba person, we would look at you and we didn't know what we were talking about.
So Oyo is still the, in quote now, Yoruba land.
It's Yoruba land, Oyo. Now, you see, we have come to accept that classification.
Yeah.
Since we started the Egbe Omo Odudua. You know, Igbo Unity Forum was formed around 1945, then Egbe Omo Odudua came in around 1948. So
doesn't the Alaafin then have justification for saying, well, I am the one meant to give?
He cannot, because he cannot. He cannot. Where is his empire?
So the problem now is that before now he could have laid claim by the history you put out. Yes. But by the new construct of what we have today in terms of our civilization and our governance structure, and he doesn't have an empire in that sense, he cannot even overlord the Shon or the Ibadan. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying that he has no influence over anybody. He cannot act beyond Atiba local government. By the letter given to him, he cannot.
By the law?
By the law, he cannot. As a matter of fact, you know, he's under the local government chairman. He is.
So thank God you're a lawyer. So this is synonymous with every other traditional institution in Nigeria.
During the selection process in Ondo State, when the late Olawo died and the new selection process started, my office was instructed to oversee the process in Ondo State. Olowo is a powerful,
That's a lot of
Olowo, yes. That's a very powerful traditional office in Yoruba land. Very, very. They still cherish tradition. They support. They observe everything. But my office was instructed.
So if this is what is obtainable, because the argument as to the fact that the issue of the Yoruba, and now this historical context puts a bit of perspective, given the wars that had happened and the dominance that had taken place, but now the governance structure has changed. Nobody has any empire anymore.
Nobody.
But it looks like a convenience of just out of respect for the institution.
Precisely.
So why do you think this continues? Given, I'm sure all sides know this. The Ooni knows this. The Alaafin knows this. Everybody knows this. Why do you think this continues?
Well, I think it's because of the pervasive decadence in the system. Pervasive decadence. In the sense that most of those who parade themselves as traditional, most of them, now. And it's a very pathetic situation. Most of those who parade themselves as traditional rulers don't even know their functions. It appears to me that they are in a hurry to even discard tradition. They don't want to have anything to do with tradition. In fact, they are so happy when they are addressed as Oba, assistant pastor, Oba, Alaji, and all of this. That Doctor, is total abnegation
they're citing,
of traditional values.
Pardon me, they're citing, particularly the Alaafin, citing a Supreme Court judgment, which it says grants only the Alaafin the authority to give chieftaincy titles. In fact, after that 48-hour ultimatum, it was said that the Alaafin would publish that Supreme Court ruling. So this has gone to the court, and it's been said that...
Which court? Now what they are referring to happened when Alaafin Adeyemi took Ooni Olubuse to court when he was going to confer one funny title on Tommy Kimi that had something like Yoruba land, and I said, only he could confer titles bearing Yoruba land. In a way, he was right. The Supreme Court said, yes, because you are the king of Yoruba. I'm Remo, I'm not Yoruba. I'm from Ife. I'm from Remo quarters in Ife. If an Ekiti person says Ekiti is not Yoruba, but we are accepting it. Ondo is not Yoruba. So your Yoruba land, from Katunga, the old Oyole, down to your Atiba now, where you are. And perhaps your empire stretched beyond where we call Nigeria now, to Benin Republic, even to a part of Ghana. Those sides, that's the Yoruba land. So if you are saying that nobody should give anybody Yoruba land, you are trying to say that, okay, we should now revert to the old system. Take, for instance, if anybody, so he was talking about the treaty that is signed with the British, calling him King of Yoruba. At the time he was signing that treaty, Ijebu Awujale was the last Yoruba, the last king of those whose sources could be traced direct to Ife. Who signed the treaty with the British? 1897, Magba War. Ijebu land was the last place conquered by the British. And the rest of Yoruba land did not support Ijebu because they said they're monopolizing the slave trade. So you see, the interesting thing to know about this so-called royalty is that we don't want to see, in 2025, we should not begin to look at what we divide us.
Yeah.
We should think about what should bring us together. But if they want to stretch it to a ridiculous extent, we want to go back and tell them that most of them worked against the interests of their own people. They were selling people, they were selling slaves. They were selling us.
But to be fair, I mean, you're from Ife.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I thought you said I am from Ife earlier.
No, yes, of course, originally. I'm from Ogereremo in Ogun State.
Oh, I see.
But we are from Iremo quarters.
Okay.
That was
I just wanted to be clear.
I'm not. But I mean, all of us are from Ife. All of us. And you see, I couldn't take into classes because, I mean, I studied classics and law. The Greeks had the oracle at Delphi, the Pythia, who prophesied. Every Greek island, Corinth, Syracuse, Galatia, everywhere went to Delphi.
Right.
You know, so Ife is like our own, you know, the Delphic oracle that was in Greece. Ife is our own. So everybody who traces his route to Ife. You are Yoruba. It's not only in Nigeria. Go to Brazil, some parts of Mexico, Haiti, you go all around, Cuba. So, you know, so we are not talking about what is restricted to a local government. And this is, look, in 1903, let me quickly say this. I mean, you must have heard the story. When there was a problem between Ikorodu and Epe, dialectically, you know, they are very close. You call them Ijebu, but Ikorodu is Remo, Epe is Ijebu. They were fighting over boundaries. The Akaribo and the Aujale could not resolve the problem. The British governor then had to send for the Ooni because he was convinced that only he could do it. And who was the Ooni? The grandfather of Olubushe, Adeneko Olubushe the first. In 1903, he was the one sent down, and when he left his palace, because no Ooni was not leaving the palace anyhow, going to attend parties to go and be eating jollof rice. No, when he left, all other Obas in Yoruba land vacated their palaces until he returned.
Out of respect.
Out of respect. Nobody was forced. And he was invited because he was the custodian of all crowns, beaded crowns, not the ones that they now make for fashion, that they even put on the heads of their wives. Now, you know, not one person remained in the palace. They all left.
Doctor, we have to anchor now. We need a full session on all of this.
It's kind of a master class in classics and Yoruba culture. Doyin Adebowale is a former special advisor to later Kitty, and as the former governor of Ondo State, and also a scholar as well as a legal practitioner. We thank you for your insights, and I'm sure this is going to generate a lot more conversation. I don't know whether you solved more problems or you created more. I don't know which one you did.
Well, I think it is high time we spoke about all these problems.
All right. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it. Mainland Bridge. A sad incident occurred on the 3rd Mainland Bridge, which is a conversation we're having today. So what really happened? For those of you who don't know what happened, the videos, some pictures will be showing, and as well as the events afterwards that particular accident. The person to speak to us, Amodu Shakiru, is the Chief Fire Officer of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service and Head of Public Education. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
We saw pictures, perhaps videos of that particular incident, but you are in charge of fire and rescue, and I'm sure you understand what had played out. So what really happened from what you know, before we begin to dig deep into what was the aftermath?
Okay. The news just came to us not as an emergency report. Unfortunately, we didn't get the emergency alert to that very incident. But when the news came, you need to make a quick check. And then we actually confirmed the story, but you know, it's been an aftermath, and some emergency responders have already, you know, taken care of the immediate solution that would have been provided for such an accident. It was quite unfortunate, but like we do say, accidents are very, very preventable, and then the best accident you can prevent is the one you have avoided, so that it doesn't happen in the first instance. When the news came and we make a check, we find out that it's result out of overspeeding, because we all are aware, I know the world is aware, that the speed limit for 3rd Mainland Bridge is 80 km/h. So the vehicles involved, or some of the vehicles involved, because a quite number of vehicles caused the accident. Not all the vehicles involved this time around. A quite number of them caused the accident, and they are very far above that 80 speedometer limit. And unfortunately, the avoidable accident happened. And investigation is still on it, because it's just 2 days past the incident happened.
So you're talking about the one that happened on Sunday. There was the one that happened on Saturday.
Yes.
The one that the 27-year-old at the car launched into the lagoon. That's the one I want to find out from you exactly.
Okay.
Because there are questions as to several questions. So let me just hear you.
Several questions. Okay. We'll
try. It's my job to ask questions. That's what I'm trying.
We'll try, Honorable. Okay. Exactly Saturday at 05:11 hours. We got a call of an emergency, which
05:11 means 5 a.m.
Yes, 5 a.m. Just 11
for
minutes
for
past
audience.
5 a.m. Yes. So we got the alert that at Third Mainland Bridge, just by the Adekunle intersection, a Toyota Corolla has plunged into the river. So, and we were there. Unfortunately, it involved a 29-year-old lady, which is the only person on the car, as well as the driver. So, but the incident has happened. The Marine Police also joined us. The locals, we met them. We met them already trying to do what we will call rescue emergency. But at the end of the day, that was about 1 hour thereabout later, we were only made to recover the female body of that unfortunate victim. We recover it, which is lifeless this time around, and then all other effort was made to probably recover the vehicle. And after recovery, like I said, the Marine Police were there, the family too were there. So we handed over, police, we always take charge of any corpse recover at an accident scene. We handed it to police, who also was in talks with the family. And we also agree, the emergency responders there now, we agree. Lasambos was there, that's the Lagos State Ambulance Service. And we also agreed to have a later operation on how to recover the vehicle. That's the Toyota Corolla in question now. But, after the body was handed over by the police to the family, they need to went for the burial. And the information that was gathered, which was also substantiated, was this fellow was coming from the highland. She was actually driving inward Yanowo end of the bridge. So she was coming from Mainland from an event before the unfortunate incident happened at just by 5 a.m. because we got the call after the incident happened.
So let's build a few things. How soon were you there?
We were there in 9 minutes. So the call was 5:11, like I said, and we were there for 5:20.
But we understand that it was the local divers, local people that were taking charge of a lot of the rescue process, and some were even demanding for money before they go out. Did you hear that part of the story as well? Because if you were there, as urgent as you say you were there, why would that be happening? So help us clarify. On one hand, the local people are doing, which you have alluded to, they were doing their work or trying to make efforts to maybe help out in whatever situation. But there are other shenanigans that were going on as far as, making demands for the body and all of that. But if you were there as at the time you were supposed to be there, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So help us reconcile that situation.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, most times incident will happen before we were called upon. So between the time the incident happened and the time we were called upon, via the Lagos Emergency Toll-Free number, which route through the command and control center of the state to the fire service, definitely there have been some efforts being made. And like by the time we also were there, just shortly the family came. And when anxiety are on, people will be desperate to rescue their loved one. So while negotiation may be on by the locals, between the locals and the family now, that is not our own priority. Our own priority is to set out the plan of rescue. Because you need to get to scene, no matter how professional you are, you need to get to scene, look at the terrain, and map out the best strategy to do that.
So sorry, because of time, who was able to bring the lady out? Was it you or the locals?
The locals, eventually. The locals.
So what exactly did you do if the locals were able to bring the body out? Because that's where the issue of the negotiation as to releasing the body and all of that is, all of the things we hear happened behind the scene happened.
Okay.
So because if you say you're coming to map out, we're trying to understand the situation here. Naturally, things will happen, you'll be called. Perhaps before you get there, some first responders will make some effort. Now, when you came, you say you want to map out, but at the end of the day, when you now say they are the ones that brought out the body, so what exactly did you now do?
Of course, we coordinate it. Like I said, we are there with Lasema, we are there with the Marine Police. So we are not working alone. We have to work with this team. And definitely, we have to work with the local. No matter what, it's a lagoon, it's a terrain that best understood by those locals. Water has its own tide. It has its own characteristics. Let me amaze you, these locals are always on the go on the water. And I think that time was even the best time they set out for their fishing trade. You know, most of them are fishermen. You see them, you know, plying their trade on that lagoon front anytime you are driving through. So they are there doing their thing. And I want to believe they are the eyewitness. They offer most of those information we gathered and we were later...
sorry, I'm cutting in because of time. I hope you understand that. So, yes, but was it fair for them to be asking for money from family of victims on the one hand? On the other, were there other victims that was not found?
No, there was not any other victim as far as that particular incident was concerned. And talking about fairness, it's unfair. It's unfair to take advantage. But, you know, it's in our character. Sometimes you just see somebody in need and you want to take such an advantage. And that is condemnable. It's condemnable and...
So is there anything you're doing to... Because we cannot take away their role because they are first responders before professionals like you come in. How do you want to manage this kind of situation? And then also, we expect places like, I don't know whether this question is right for you, but maybe when I asked you, you escalated. Places like Third Mainland Bridge were supposed to have CCTV cameras. That is, if anything happens to Third Mainland Bridge, it's going to affect Nigeria's economy. That's how serious that place is. So if there's one of the places that should be watched 24/7 is the Third Mainland Bridge in Nigeria. Do we have enough so that you don't even need to be called? You can maybe get a ring or a signal. So 2 questions in one.
Okay, let's start from the last. The issue of, I think as at the last check, the Third Mainland Bridge was meant to have CCTV cameras. As at the last check. Now, what does this CCTV camera do? Is the question. Is it for traffic monitoring, offenses, speed limits, and what have you? Now, is it connected to the back end of the control room of an emergency response unit? That is another set of questions.
That's a question you answer. It's not me now. I just asked the question. No. So we're totally out of time. So what we're saying here is that the issue of locals demanding...
Locals.
That you didn't answer that part.
That demand... I said earlier that it's condemnable, and you said, what are we doing? So that now we have understanding with so many of the locals, but unfortunately sometimes these people are people who migrated unannounced. They are more or less mobile fellows. Today you have agreement with some set. By the next time you've seen that things have changed hand.
Okay.
Another set has taking over, because they also have leadership that we talk to.
Okay.
They are also in union, they are in association.
Okay.
So we talk with their leader, because it's not worthy to talk with every individual of the locals.
Okay, maybe just do better. You're the government. Whatever you they say after God is government. That's what people say. So we expect a lot more, because the family watching this, they will not be happy. Anybody who is a victim of this will not be happy. That already suffered a loss, and somebody is making ridiculous demand. It's a shameful, it's a very distasteful situation. Amadou Shakiru is the Chief Fire Officer of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service and Head of Public Education. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for thanking us.
Okay, well, the last leg of the conversation, Kayode.
Oh, yes. Well, we've been told that the police in Delta State has been able to apprehend the officers who were seen in that video which we showed you yesterday. And we must commend the responsiveness of the Nigeria Police Force for taking action immediately. We understand that they appeared before the CP. Two of them, senior officers, have been queried, while 2 inspectors have been detained and are waiting an orderly room trial. So that's an update from that video which we showed you yesterday.
So swift response from the Nigerian Police Force. Thank you to the force for, stepping in as quickly as possible. Must thank you for your time and your usual company for being on the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga.
I'm Kayode Okikelu. To have a great day ahead. Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is next.